Hi everyone, my name is Sheila Landry, and today's video is going to be a short tutorial on how to paint trees. This is a piece from my North Star Village series, and it's the first shop in the series called Toys in the Attic. And as you can see, it has a lot of details. There's some overlay pieces, and there's a nice little Christmas tree in the background. And a lot of people ask me how I paint my trees. I had done this design last year by Betty Caithness, and the evergreen trees, the Christmas trees, are done pretty much the same way that I'm going to show you today. It's actually very easy to do. It's fast, and you don't need a lot of, fussing with it to get it done right. So what I decided to do is make a short tutorial on just the window part, and I'm going to do the trees. So I'm going to put this one aside, and we'll start with my sample piece. Now this was the inside of the window that I had cut out from the pattern. This is a large 7-inch piece. There's two sizes in each pattern. There's a 5-inch smaller and a 7-inch larger one. And for video purposes, we're going to do the larger one, but it's really pretty much done the same. Now on the pattern, I have just the vertical line for the trunk of the tree. I already traced the bear. The wash is kind of supposed to be the finished floor, but we're not going to finish the floor right now. But we're going to just pretend that it's finished. And I'm going to do, the next video will be on the bear. But for this purpose, we're going to do the tree. So all we need is that line there. And what I'm using is some artist tape. It's a low tack tape. And I'm going to tape off the floor, because in our design, the tree is behind the floor of the window box and behind the curtain. So we're going to assume that the curtain is done as well. And I'm going to tape right here on the top of the curtain. Kind of going to tape around it. You know, we could touch it up later, but just in case we get some paint there. And then I'm going to paint the side of the curtain box, because it's really important to keep that tree back. If you get any paint in front of the window molding or that, it's going to throw the perspective off completely, because actually you want the tree to look like it's inside the window. And if you wind up getting a little bit of paint up here on the curtain, you could always go over it. So we're not going to worry too much about that. Okay? So I traced my pattern on. What I use to do trees is usually a nice stiffer flat brush. This brush is by Silver Brush Company. It's called a Ruby Satin. It's a pretty much like a synthetic filament, so it's stiff. It's almost like a fabric brush. And it does really a nice job for this. Let's see, I think I'm gonna pull a little bit of a smaller one. This is a number 8, and this is a 10, I think. Yes, I'm gonna go with the 8, just because it's a small space. The color I'm using is Black Forest Green, which is a semi-transparent color by Decorative. All the colors in this series are done with Decorative paints. And I put a little bit on my palette, wet the brush, and pick up some of the paint. Now, I know the bristles are dark and you're not going to see it, but you'll see it when I start to paint. So you can see on the palette that it's a transparent color. You want it a little bit inky, but not wet. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top, hold the brush perpendicular to the surface, and start making a little tree shape like this. Now I have mine on an angle a little more so you could see, so I could get my hand out of the way. Okay, and we're going to just tap. And you could see that you could kind of see through the paint. And you want to kind of curve it, like see how I have the dotted lines on the patterns curving. It doesn't mean you swipe it down. It means that when you tap in your branches, you're going to curve it. Now you can get some on the bear because we're going to go back and do the bear. That'll be the next video. See how you keep the color uneven and kind of just fill in as you go. This is very relaxing. It's a very controlled motion. Now see how that branch is kind of flat, so we want to go over that. And as you build your tree, you make it a little wider on the bottom, and you just gradually build it to a tree shape. You don't want to overwork it. Now, since our tree is going down on the floor past the window box, I am going to bring it over here where the tape is. Okay. See how easy that is? Now I'm going to let that dry a minute, and I will be right back. Okay, I dried that. It's ready to go. You can see it's still pretty transparent, so what I'm going to do is just pick up more paint. I want to move the palette out a little bit. And this time I'm not going to rinse as much out. I'm going to do another layer. Same thing. We're going to go over it. And again, you don't want it to be too much at once, too dark, because it's easier to go darker than lighter at this point. And you got to kind of imagine how the branches of a tree will go. And it's going to have all kinds of stuff on it too, so I mean it's easy. Now see how that's a little darker there, but you just kind of blend it in. You could pick up color. You could put a couple little branches, you know, out a little further, like that's a little bit too perfect, so I like to bring a couple out so they're a little wilder. So it's not perfectly even, because that's not really how trees are. And there's your layers. That looks pretty good. So I'm looking for here's the Betty Caithness ones. Now on the Betty Caithness trees, I did that, but the brush was held this way, and I went back and forth, and then I turned to go up. So you have to really be aware of what you're painting and the direction you want to go on it. And then what I did is just take white paint on the highlight side for snow that drifted, and did light tapping on there. So it's really kind of fun to play with. Now I think for mine I just left them like that. I thought that was enough because with putting on the decorations and stuff, I didn't think it needed too much more fussing with it. But now if you wanted to highlight it a little, if say you got a little bit dark, you could take your highlight color, your lighter green, and you could just use a dirty brush like I did. That's the same brush that I didn't even rinse it. And you could put some highlights in it and lighten up some areas if you feel like they're too dark. Okay? And see, that gives it another layer of depth too. A lot of times people expect things to go in one layer, a float, a highlight, you know, and a shade. And really what gives depth to your pieces is adding several layers and being patient with them. Okay, so there is the tree. So the next video, oh, I will show you, this is a fun part. Let me put my brush before I forget. Then you can peel off your paint. Now see, it bled under a little. I didn't push down, but we'll go over that with white when I do my curtain. Let's see. Yeah, see, the floor did fine. So now what I did on this in my design was I float shaded the dark color along the bottom. And what it did is it set the tree back a little bit. You can't see it because the pram is in the way, and so is the bear. But see how this little gap was here? I think I showed that in the pattern, and I float shaded. Here, I can do it now, as long as we're on. I'm just going to take an angle brush, and I'm going to kind of fill in that little gap, because what you're going to see there is the shadow from the floor of the window box against the tree, just like that. Okay, and then when the floor is all done and shaded, it really gives it a depth. So there you have it. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. Hope it made your tree making a little bit easier. Let me know how you do. Subscribe to my page, like my videos, and comment. Thank you.